All right, there we go. Holistic Kung Fu is now live with Teriyaki Tuesday, episode 5.
Stress.
Click on that.
We should have spelled stress with a 5s.
Is that the way they're doing it now?
I don't know.
To make it more hip?
Yeah, or like hide from the, oh man, they saw me fixing all my sleeves and stuff.
Well, I don't think no one's on here yet.
Oh, okay.
It should tell you, I think, if someone's watching.
Someone's
hey guys, if you are joining us and you can see us, please like or comment in the bottom. Welcome to episode 5 of Teriyaki Tuesday. And if you guys are current students and you have the Zoom link for our class, feel free to log on and you'll see us on Zoom. Hold on, and we'll see you. And then you can ask us any questions that you want to ask us. So what are we talking about today, Gibbons?
Oh, our topic is stress. So stress is a thing that everybody deals with. And
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Stress, it's a stressful, stress is something that everyone deals with. But it's not, I was saying this, I made a little video last night with just some simple breathing techniques and Qigong that, you know, anyone can do, the layperson that has no experience in Qigong or anything. And I was talking about how it's not, when it comes to stress, dealing with stress is not inherently a bad thing. It's just a thing, right? Mm-hmm. There's good stress and there's bad stress. Like when you stress your muscles, right, you're going to strengthen them. And when it comes to bad stress accumulating on the body, it, like, you know, in a type of like almost like as if it were trauma, it's not the stress that does that, it's the body's reaction to that stress that creates the problem, right? Whether it's you know, soreness or you know, some kind of internal injury or some kind of either chronic pain or even acute pain, that's by the body's reaction to the stress, right? So I use the analogy like when you're, I can't see who's watching here, one sec. I use the analogy where if you're driving in a car and, you know, something rolls out in front of the car and you kind of panic and then you slam on the brakes, you slam on the brakes and you have that real quick kind of jerk reaction, and a lot of times you can feel that on the body, like almost right away sometimes, or even later. You can get a sore neck and you're like, oh, why is my neck so sore? And you might connect the dots and realize that it's from that traumatic experience you had will manifest in, you know, in some kind of soreness on the body. Where's that volume coming from? Does that make sense?
We're hearing our own live.
Yeah. Hold on, I gotta shut that off.
Yeah. Well, every like healer type person, like massage or whatever, has always said like when your body does that, it's like to protect you in the moment, and then if you don't if you don't get out of that state of mind, then your body will just keep trying to protect you, and it will hold on to that traumatic energy and stay stuck in that state, and that's what causes the chronic pain, the chronic illness you get from stress.
And a lot of that, like we've heard before, you know, you need to exercise. If you're stressed, you need to exercise. But you need to be able to shake that out. And when I learned that really well when I was first starting to teach Kung Fu, right? And I was driving to, you know, we're in Niagara here, but I was driving to Toronto and I was driving to Scarborough to do that job, right? And going back a little bit, before I got hired, I was working in a real estate office, okay, and I was in training, so I was driving back and forth to Hamilton to get my training in for my instructor training. And working at that real estate office was probably one of the most stressful times of my life that I can remember. And I just, like, you know, there was days, some days were really good and some days were just so stressful. I would get in the car at the end of the day and I'm like thinking, what would happen if I just this is going to be the day where I just keep on driving. I just like drive out of town and drive till I run out of gas. Like I was just ready to, because I was doing this office work all the time, and on the days when I had training, no problem. The days when I didn't have training, that stress accumulated. Okay, so I was familiar with that, having that, a lot of stress from desk type work. When I got hired to teach in Scarborough, when I moved to Scarborough, that was one of the most demanding jobs, okay? And it was also very stressful, but it was physically demanding. So the chief instructor at the time who was training me was like a no BS kind of guy. Like he had no tolerance at all for any kind of, mistake or laziness or anything, and it was very, very difficult at that time. And having that, and I was the new guy, so I had to do all of the work that no one else wanted to do, all the cleaning on top of that, and I would then get criticized for what I did wrong, and it was this constant bombardment of not doing good enough, right? And the funny thing is, when I would go home, I would feel like, okay, where's the stress is supposed to be here, but it's not here. Why isn't it here? Right? It doesn't make sense, because I would get criticized all day, and then I would go home and I wouldn't have the stress. And it's because I was actually physical for so much of the day, right? We were training for probably 6 hours a day. And there was just so much physical activity, and my body was just, it was a good, I was sore and I was tired, but a good sore and tired. When you have a good workout, you're not complaining that you're sore. If you're sitting at a desk and you're sore from your back being sore, that's a different thing. It's not really rewarding. But from having a lot of physical activity, that's rewarding. So I found that when I had that, the stress wouldn't accumulate on the body. It had nowhere to stick, and that's kind of when it clued in for me that, wow, if you can endure a lot more stress, not that you want to or have to, but you can endure a lot more stress when you balance it out with a lot of the right physical activity, right? And I don't just mean just lifting weights or running, which is fine, but something that includes a full body motion where you're moving your body in a full range of motion. You're also getting really good movement internally here with proper breath and things like that, right? So anyway, I wanted to kick off with that, and that's kind of where we come at it from a Kung Fu and Tai Chi and Qigong point of view. Stress is manageable, but you've got to have that, you've got to balance it out with that physical activity, right?
Yeah, I remember my dad told me when I was younger that because I was the kind of person I never wanted to stop having fun. And he's like, fun is a type of stress. So it's it's not even healthy to be having high fun all the time. You have to take breaks from. That's
a good point. Yeah, I guess.
Well, imagine being on a roller coaster all day.
You're adrenaline. You're jacked up on adrenaline all the time. That's not good for you either.
But it's still adrenaline, and it feels good. But then when we're in a bad situation, it's we almost get a similar rush of, and they even design video games to be stressful to the point that they're addictive, because the stress is what makes it fun. So
and if you don't have stress, it's not going to be a good game, right? It's a balance.
If
it's too easy, it's no good. If it's too stressful, then you're gonna quit.
Yeah, it has to have that. That right amount of stress, and then the way that you deal with it is a huge part of that too, right? So
yeah, if anyone remembers RoboCop for Super Nintendo, that's an old one, but that was a very stressful game, and it was very difficult, and you couldn't get past the first level. Sucked. Didn't play it for very long. It was just too difficult, right? But then other games that had that good balance, they were just you'd play them for hours, right?
Yeah, it's good to try to find something that's a mild amount of stress to help you move. I think putting on some music and dancing is good. Or
dance is
or
fantastic.
If you can go to a class, a Kung Fu class, where someone's going to literally motivate you and tell you to move, that's the benefit of that. So it's helpful to have those.
And I brought up the point last night too for meditation, because people try to use meditation for overcoming stress, right? Which the difficulty is if you have that trauma stored in the body and the muscles and the joints, simply doing a meditation on its own is not really gonna help you, right? Because you've still got those blockages everywhere, and if you don't work those out,
it hurts to sit there when you have trauma stuck in your body.
Yeah,
you're you try to sit, my neck hurts, my arm's going numb, my feet can't feel my feet.
We've got some students. Sick. We've got some students like that just do not like the idea of meditating, but can't do it because of stress and trauma.
Well, and if you can't even drive home without listening to music or something, or be in your house without having the TV on, or on your phone, if you can't even sit alone with your thoughts, then you're not gonna want to sit there and meditate. That's like the extreme version of being with your thoughts. So a lot of people, they live to just avoidance,
yeah.
The inner dialogue or whatever's going on. Like, wake up, first thing, I gotta escape. Look at my phone.
Yeah, as soon as you wake up, give me the input so I don't have to reflect, right? That's a good point. And that kind of takes us into, I want to talk a little bit about receiving, right?
Yeah.
Because that's something that I'm working on and studying a lot about right now. And that when you have that silence in the morning, that's a really good time to...
You receive a lot of answers.
You receive a lot. And it's because you're in a like a barely waking state. You still have that connection with your subconscious mind when you're just waking up, right? And a lot of people, and this is the thing I want to bring up too, because there's this thing on the internet. So I was writing it in my. Do I have a copy of the book? No, I don't. Anyway, I wrote that in the book about, the importance of getting up early. Well, some people took that to the extreme and started this is like a thing now online with like entrepreneurs and stuff online. It's like the 5 a.m. club, right? The 5 a.m. club. You gotta get up at 5 a.m. And I thought about that. I'm like, well, wait, that kind of takes what I was saying, but it mutates it into something really, really weird. Yeah. The whole idea with getting up early, from my point of view, was not like, wasn't like get up early and crush and get your workout in heavy and then pound the pavement and get into the hustle. No, that's not what I meant with like getting up early.
It's easy to hustle when everyone's around you.
Yeah. Yeah. But what my idea was with getting up early was because when you're up early, you can get up before the distractions come in, right? And then you have that connection to the higher, like the higher mind, that later on in the day, the longer the time goes in between when you wake up and then you're really fully awake, the longer that time goes, the greater the disconnect between like your conscious mind and the deeper parts of your mind that you're not normally in touch with during the day. Yeah. You have those connections stronger in the morning when you're first getting up, right? And that's when a lot of the intuitive answers come in. You receive a lot of that stuff. Do you find that?
Yeah. The Psycho-Cybernetics is that book where you literally, like, at night you just write a question. And then you wake up, and then you just listen and see if you get the answer to the question.
Yeah, and it works surprisingly well a lot of the times if you're quiet, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but if you get up right away and you're like right to the news, right to
the second you look at your phone, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done. It's like, oh, I'm in the go state of mind.
Not the right kind of receiving. Yeah, you're being bombarded with something, right? You're not receiving the intuition that you want.
Yeah, you want to receive from your own. Like, listen to yourself first before you start listening to everything else. That's like bombarding you, like, because it's like you say, if you don't try to go after your own goals, like you're going after someone else's goals, like you're serving someone else's purpose all the time. If you're not serving your purpose, you're serving someone. If you sit there and watch Netflix, then you're serving Netflix.
You're serving Netflix. They love it. They're getting your viewership. If you're looking at
Facebook, then Facebook loves you right now.
Yeah.
You're always being used for some purpose, so you might as well.
You're going to be achieving a goal. Yeah. You're always going to be achieving a goal, whether it's yours or someone else's, is up to you. You're always going to be developing a habit or sustaining a habit or reinforcing a habit. Whether it's a habit by your design or someone else's design is also up to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Like if you have kids, they train you.
They train.
Yeah. Or
even
cat.
a cat will definitely train you. Yeah. Yeah, the cat's definitely trained.
That's why I have to do like 10 things in my bedroom before I leave my room in the morning, because my cat waits with her nose in the crack of the door. So I'm like, oh, I gotta, even if I have to pee so bad, like I gotta make my bed, I gotta write in my journal, I gotta do my meditation before I leave the room, because the minute I wake up,
then it's cat.
And then she's like, feed me, love me, I'm gonna chew on your toes.
I want to talk about receiving too, in that for dealing with stress. Where'd it go? What happened? With dealing with stress, when it comes to receiving, a lot of people, probably myself included, are horrible receivers, right? And what I mean by that is, like, we all want, especially when the time is stressful, we all want and we all need help, right? From time to time, you're going to need help from someone at some point. And when someone says, how you doing? What do you say?
Oh, I'm fine.
Yeah, fine. Fine. How are you?
You?
Okay.
Let's talk about you instead.
Exactly. Like,
Anything?
I'm fine.
Take it off me.
Even if I'm not fine, I'm not going to be honest about it, about what I need, and that's it, right?
Living the dream.
Do you need a hand with that? Would you need a hand with that?
Oh no, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. That's another problem, right? We say that, and it's just it's a very bad habit. Now, there's obviously going to be times when you don't need help, and no problem. Like you could say, yeah, no, I'm okay. You know, thanks for asking. You know, direct your efforts into someone who needs help, but I don't. But a lot of times we do need help.
No thanks. I'm toxically independent.
I gotta write that down. No, no thanks. I'm toxically independent. That's good. More or less, yeah. We don't use that exact wording, but that's in effect what we're saying, right? But we got to work on that better on receiving, especially when you're really stressed, and if someone says, you know, do you need help? We have to say yes. You know, yeah, that would be great. And it's difficult for some people, but like everything else, with practice, a little bit at a time, you know, we can get better and better and better at it. But if you're not with a stressful situation like this. Now is the time we need to get better at receiving, because there are people, like you run into people all day that would be happy to help you, right, and that probably want to help you, but they're not going to do it if you're not asking for it, right? And likewise, it's not good to do that when you see people that are trying to help people all the time without being asked, and how that also is not always a good thing, right? Because a lot of times people want to go through some kind of struggle, and if you're helping them without their permission or without their request for it, it's a little bit intrusive, right? And so people won't help you if these people won't help you unless you ask for it. So we do need to work on asking for it. And if someone's asking for it,
well, a lot of times people they know they need help, or they know they need some kind of assistance, but they're too proud to ask, or they don't want to ask because they don't want to say they need help, and then the people around them, they don't think that the person needs help, and then so they don't help, and then the other person who needs the help, they just start getting resentful, and you get this resent because you want help but you don't want to ask for it, and you resent somebody for not reading your mind.
Yeah,
there was, I can't remember, I think it was a TED Talk or something, but there was this story about this woman, and she was starting a new job, and she lived with her kids and her husband, and then she would come home and she would complain about the job, and so the family was not supporting her in the job. They were saying oh, well, just quit your job, and she was just complaining about the job, and so they were well, just quit the job then. But what she needed was help around the house and stuff,
yeah,
to do it, but she wasn't communicating properly. She was just saying, oh, I hate this, and they were saying, well, then stop. Well, she actually wanted to do the job, but because she wasn't asking directly, she was trying to passively ask for help. It wasn't she wasn't getting the result. So once they talked it out, she's I actually do want this job, I need help. Then they were oh, okay, then we'll support you. But if you just complain, which a lot of people, they'll just sit there and complain and wonder why no one's helping them. It's if you're going to complain about something, people are just say, well, don't do it then.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you actually need help, you need to ask for what you actually
communicate
need.
It, yeah.
Not just
one, and people might actually, and if people are intuitive, they might even, they get a sense that you need help. And if you ask and you say, no, I'm fine, they probably have a solution right there waiting for you, and then you say you're fine. So okay, well, there's no point in me offering any assistance then if you're fine. So we block, all kinds of assistance.
You were saying that's a trauma response.
Yeah, that's a response. I learned that this week. I'm in a really good group of people right now, and someone mentioned that, and that just lit up for me. That hyper independence. What did you toxic
independence?
Toxic independence.
Any quality can be toxic.
Is so hyper independence. Hyper independence is a trauma response.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I don't know yet what it's a response to. I haven't done enough inside seeking to figure that out. I mean, obviously different for everyone, right? But that's a response to some type of trauma, right? Yeah. And trauma is from not from a circumstance, but our reaction to those circumstances, right? So those can be undone. They can be reprogrammed through meditation, things like that. Psycho-cybernetics, like we talk about, is a great way to work on that. Oh, I'm gonna plug that. I'm doing a morning meditation and Qigong class right now on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Eastern. So if you guys want to be included into that, just comment below, or send me a message if you're seeing this and you want to be included in that. We'll be doing some meditation, some guided meditation on Thursday, and I did want to actually work on that, on how to go into some of that trauma and how to fix it through different meditations and visualizations and things like that. We're going to work on that on this Thursday.
Cool.
And a lot of it based on our work with psycho-cybernetics.
That's awesome.
Yeah. How do you deal with stress?
How do I deal with stress?
Yeah, you mentioned.
Well, I've learned some good techniques the past year. One Karen Klein taught me is a visualization about being a surfer. And I've never surfed, but but I like going in the ocean because you're constantly being bombarded with waves and you're forced to deal with it. Like, you don't have a choice, right? And so if you just succumb and you're indecisive about like holding your breath, going underwater, or jumping over the wave or whatever, like, you'll drown. So you have to. It's much funner to think that all of this change and constant nonsense that is being thrown at us right now with the pandemic is just like waves coming at you, and you just have to adapt just like a surfer would adapt, and just say, well, oh, this horrible thing that's happening right now, or like this huge change, I don't know how to deal with it. Just imagine it's a giant wave coming at you, and what are you going to do with it? Are you going to dive under it? You have to ride it, right? If you let it overtake you, then you let it overtake you, and you drown, and you get tossed around. So that's really helped me for months now. She taught me that one, I think in last summer at some point. So that's a really good way to think of it, is just whatever visualization helps you, right? But that's my favorite thing of all time, is just being in the ocean. Like, if no one comes and gets me, I'm just going to stay in the ocean. So I was like, well, this is great because it's my favorite thing to do. And so if I just think of it like that.
Okay.
So if your favorite thing is Kung Fu or whatever, like, I like Kung Fu too, obviously, but...
Well, surfing's pretty fun.
I've never surfed.
Oh, it's pretty
but
awesome.
I really want to surf
we
now.
don't really have a lot of opportunity here, but if we book some kind of outing, we'll have to include surfing, because surfing is a lot. And if your Kung Fu is good, you'll get up very, very quick.
And
which is pretty awesome with surfing. Everyone's like, it's so hard just to, if you're like.
But that's I when I read a lot about the flow state this year too, like, surfers get into that's like a flow trigger super instantly, because it's constantly like, it's at a difficulty where it's manageable, but it's still difficult and requires your full attention. And like extreme sports, like, instantly make people go in the flow state. So if you think of life that way, you can literally go in the flow state about just the crap that life is throwing at you. So that's how I've been getting through. Also, actually making time to enjoy life is important too.
Cool. Harms of stress. What do we think? What's harmful about stress?
Well, the harm of stress is just perceiving it. So it comes from perceiving it wrong, or like sometimes it's too much, right? So. I learned in DBT that there's 4 responses you can have to a problem. So one is you can try to change the problem, right? One is you can't change the problem, but you change how you feel about the problem. One is you tolerate how you feel, and you tolerate how it is. So it's more of like this sucks, and I feel like it sucks, and I'm just going to be okay with that. And then the other thing is to do nothing and then just continue to be bombarded because it's too much. So you have to decide first what you're going to do. Are you going to try to change it, or are you going to try to change how you feel, or are you just going to deal with both? And if you're not going to do any of those, then you're just going to be miserable. And then I think that's when you start to be harmed by stress, is if you're not decisive. Because that happened to me at the beginning of the pandemic for sure. Like, I wasn't decisive, and I didn't know that information back then. But I literally didn't know what to do, and it was so far out of my control that it started to affect me in a negative way.
So good. So we covered benefits of stress, covered
Yeah.
harms of stress. We covered some ways to overcome stress, right?
Yeah. That 8-section brocade movement that you did in the video.
Yeah, well, I like that one because first of all, it's effective, but it's also a visual, right? So
Yeah.
so when you look at like in Chinese medicine, when you look at what our body, we have meridians running through our body that are carrying energy through our body, and when we have it's like, imagine like little tiny little garden hoses, right? And when you have blockages, when you have a blockage in a garden hose, just holding it there, having it still is not going to do anything. This is the analogy that I made last night when I made that video. If it's got like mud clogged in it, and you just leave it there and say relax, it's not really going to do anything. But when you start working it a little bit here and there, you're going to massage those knots out through movement, and you're going to get a good flow again. So stress materializes, and it manifests blockages in those meridians. And through simple movements we can start to, massage is good for that too, but if you don't have a massage coming up, you can basically just, the movements of Qigong, the 8-section brocade is a good one, can work out a lot of that stress through breathing, stretching, and directing that energy at the same time. But I like that one because it's the visual is like, okay, you're dropping down and you're literally like shaking the body and getting those blockages, you're shaking them so they start to flow freely again, right?
Yeah.
So it's really effective. It relaxes because you have that sigh that you need.
Heather always knows I'm up in the morning when I do that one.
You hear that?
Just the whole house is shaking. She's like,
Oh,
he's
your
doing
heels.
8-section brocade.
Your heels
6
drop.
movement. Huh.
I did it on the video. We're on the padded floor, so you can't really hear it too well. But yeah, if you're on a solid floor upstairs, boom, you're gonna shake when the heels drop.
Sometimes I just go outside and do it.
Yeah.
So that I don't like it.
But that's a good meditation. Yeah, we're probably gonna work that in on next Tuesday's meditation class. So again, if you guys are watching this and you want to join us for the morning meditation and the morning Qigong exercise, which is great for relieving stress, awesome for relieving stress and waking the body up, getting some good energy, and we're doing that Tuesday and Thursday morning at 8 a.m. So if you want to be included in that, just comment below and I will send you the details for that. It's a Zoom class, so it's easy to attend in your living room. You don't got to get out of your house. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Come to class if you're stressed. You got to get moving.
Well, and when you know something is going to be good for you. So coming to class, whether you're coming to Kung Fu class, where you're showing up on Zoom for Qigong in the morning, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's whatever it is you do, going for a run, not going to the gym.
You're never going to regret going.
But don't sit there and think, okay, I got to do this, I got to de-stress, I got to go do this activity, right? Don't try to put yourself mentally through all the things you got to do. Like, okay, well, first I got to get my shoes on, I got to get my whatever suit on, then I got to get there. Then when I'm there, this is probably going to happen. Then this is going to happen. Then someone's going to say something. You don't play all those things out in your head because it's going to talk you out of it, right? Just take the first step. So like if you're doing Kung Fu in your living room and you're on the Zoom call, just put the Zoom on. Don't even tell yourself, don't be like, well, I got to do class, I'm going to have to do this much fitness, I'm going to do this much, just put the thing on and stand up. Take the first step, right? Put the camera on, put the Zoom thing on, or camera off, but just turn it on and then stand in front of it. And once you stand in front of it, then do a little bit of a warm-up. And once you do that, then you're like, okay, well, now I'll feel like doing a little bit more. Okay, now a little more. And before you know it, the class is going to be done. But if you visualize having to do the whole class and and it's tedious for you, then just stop that pattern immediately. Interrupt that pattern and say, no, I just get onto class. Like when we were open here, I would tell people, don't, if you got to get to class because you're in a stressful state and you're not moving and you're stagnant and you're just miserable because everything is stagnant, right? just get inside the building. Just do that. Just drive to the building and get in and make a kind of an agreement with yourself. I just got to step in the building. That's all I got to do. Once I get there, if I want to go home, fine, no problem. I'll go home. And then you get in the building, you're like, all right, good, I've come this far. And then if you go home, no problem, because you told yourself you're going to take the first step. Likely when you get here, you're going to want to move a little bit. You're going to do a little more. You're going to feel better. Once you start to feel better, you're going to move more and more and more. And then you spiral up, right? But if you don't just kind of focus on that first step first, you'll talk yourself out of it. So, you know, just do the one thing. Just put your shoes on or just a uniform. But don't map out the whole thing in your head that looks really discouraging, because that's what's caused anxiety, right? When you have anxiety.
I gotta get my yellow sash and my purple sash and my orange
sash. Yeah, that's what generates anxiety, is when you're worried about all this stuff in the future, or you're worried about all the stuff in the past that doesn't change. You're living everywhere but the present moment, right? So just think to yourself, you know, what do I got to do right now to just get this going? And then after that, I can give up on it if I want. And the odds are when you get there, you're going to feel better about it, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, keep that in mind.
Deal with it don't worry about, like, going back to my surfing meditation. Don't worry about the waves that are going to come. Just literally worry about the one that's right in front of you.
Yeah. And the easiest meditation you can do for that, anyone can do it, is the here and now meditation, right? I think we talked about that last time. So basically just gathering your breath, right? Putting your hands on your belly, working on your diaphragmatic breathing, and just every time you take a breath in, tell yourself, I'm right here in this moment. Feel yourself right here in this moment. And then as you exhale, imagine, feel yourself being right now in this, right here in this space as you breathe in, and then right now in this moment as you breathe out. Very simple meditation. Breathe in, I am here. Breathe out, I am right now. And center yourself in this space at this moment, and then you're not going to be worrying about all these other steps ahead that don't really matter yet.
Adding on to that meditation.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good, I guess, drill you could do that. Yeah, I've seen it on Facebook before, like as a post, but like, how do you actually be here and now? Because a lot of people, they might hear that and they like, what? I don't know. It's like, I think we understand it because we've done it for a long time. But I remember when I first learned it, I was like, what? Like, it was like speaking another language and you don't know what the words mean.
Well,
but like, anyway, this one drill, you just go through your 5 senses and you just like feel what you feel. Like, what do I taste right now? What do I smell right now? What do I see in front of me? What do I hear right now? What do I feel in my body? Like, literally, you just pay attention to literally what's happening right now, and then that's how you get now. You don't think, oh, in 15 minutes I have to go cook dinner. Oh, in 15 minutes I have to, whatever. You literally just pay attention to literally what's happening right now. I said that's literally good. Like 12 times. Literally.
What you feel. I guess I do that. I never thought about that, but
because you do a lot of this stuff naturally, you don't even know.
Well, what I do is I go by feeling, right? Yeah. So like when you start to do like kind of energy work and meditation, you feel things kind of get warm. So like if you're doing diaphragmatic breathing, certain breathing, you'll feel your belly get really warm. You'll feel your hands get really warm, and you pay attention to it. You feel it. You feel your hands, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know how else I can explain it, but you put your concentration on your hands and then you feel them, right? Well, with other things, you can then extend your feeling past your hands, right? It's a mental thing, but you feel like, I will feel the desk, not with my hand, but that same feeling I have when I'm connecting with my hands, I'll connect that with the desk. Well, when I'm here, I'm trying to connect with everything in the room and feel the room, so to speak, right? That might be a little bit too metaphysical and trippy and hippie for people, but whatever. That's kind of how I
Here's a weirder version to do that. Okay, I saw this on Facebook too, that you can look at anything in the room and your tongue knows exactly how it would feel to lick that.
I did it with a microphone. I was like, yep, that's what.
You can literally do that, like, with anything. Just look and your tongue would know exactly how that would.
That is so weird.
It's like, why does it know that?
Oh my God, I've never done that before. Yeah, that's crazy.
This gave me anxiety for a while. But
well, now anyone watching, if you can't sleep tonight, you can blame it on
That's why
Gibbons.
You're like, oh, what would the ceiling feel like to lick?
Oh my God, that's such a weird thing. Wow, you're totally right.
Yeah.
That's so weird. All right.
Good luck with that. Hope it doesn't stress you out too much.
On that note, okay, well,
You can trim that off.
no, I'm keeping that in. That's awesome. That's fantastic. And now I can't stop looking at things and imagining what. Okay. Anyway, well, thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll be here again next Tuesday for Teriyaki Tuesday. If you want to ask us any questions, you can comment below. And if you're in our classes already, just use the regular class Zoom link because our Zoom is open, and then you can sign on there and ask any questions if you want to. Thanks for watching. And books available. You just look for our book, Be Like Tea. It should be on our Facebook page if you want to order my book. And also, if you want to join me for the morning meditation and Qigong class, just comment below, message me. And what else? HolisticKungFu.net for more information. All right?
Yay.
We'll talk to you soon.